This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube, and today we have a returning guest. He's a legend of the WWE, NWA, Mid Atlantic Wrestling, Mid South Wrestling, the brother of both Rock and Robin, Jake the Snake Roberts, son of Grizzly Smith, none other than Sam Houston. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing great. You forgot one thing. The father of Samantha Starr, the NWA World one half of the NWA World Tag Team Champions at this moment.
Oh, really? I knew
Yeah.
you were her father, but I haven't been following the NWA. Congratulations to her.
Yeah, so that was awesome. But it is such a pleasure and it's so great to be here, and I thank you for having me on because I got some really helpful stuff. I wanted to hopefully inspire some people to just keep going forward, man.
I am actually going to be on an event May 3rd at the ECW Arena in Philadelphia where Samantha Starr, I believe, is also on that show. So I think I actually might meet her for the first time there.
Super, super. Well, cool. I hope y'all have a good time.
Yeah.
Um, you
I
know,
think Baby Doll might actually be on that too. I'm not sure, but I thought I recall seeing her on the poster.
right. Baby Doll's been going, and she's, I guess, her manager, not a valet, more like a manager, and a shoulder. That to be there, and but I'm so proud of her. Oh gosh, it's overwhelming. It's hard to watch her wrestle because I mean, you don't want those bumps happening to your kid or your daughter. So it's really hard on that end of the deal.
Yeah, but she definitely has a good look to her. And I just actually looked at the poster and I can confirm that I think Baby Doll is also there. So there's another reason to go to this huge event. And I'll put up the poster now that Ric Flair is also going to be there.
Oh, super!
Yeah, they should have used you for this too because I think you would have fit very well in with this crowd.
Well,
I
maybe
see
so.
Baby Doll.
Yeah, I see her there.
Where is Samantha? I know Samantha Starr's there, but I can't exactly see her. But
I
she's
see Ricky Morton. Ricky's popping out. Sandman. Maybe she's up top here. I see
yeah. Who?
blonde hair.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. I'll say that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, do you have a favorite match that she's had?
Um, I really not well. Gosh, I haven't got to see a whole lot of her stuff. I haven't been able to see her live at any too many times. One of the TV tapings I saw her down in Florida. They got that new studio and everything. And my wife and I went down and visited her there, and she blew the doors off of everything. I'm just super proud of her. And what's really cool is people that are, the road agents, I guess now. I mean, Jazz. Jazz is a real good friend. Charlie Norris and I worked out with Jazz quite a bit when she was first breaking in, and she's kind of been there for my daughter and everything too. So it's awful nice of them. And it gives you that polish that you need.
Yeah, because Jazz was trained in Louisiana, right? Were you still in
Yeah.
Louisiana at that time?
Yeah, Charlie and I were wrestling overseas in Japan and in Louisiana for Edward Falk, and that's where Jazz came in.
Yeah, I actually confirmed yesterday that Jake is still working with AEW. They might not use him on TV, but apparently I looked it up according to this article here. He's still under contract, making somewhere between 250 and 500,000 a year. So maybe he can pull some
Awesome.
strings and get Samantha in there.
Yeah, I don't know, but she'd love the opportunity. I got her an opportunity, or I didn't actually get it for her. She got the opportunity herself. I just went with her to Fayetteville to a workout and up in Richmond, and they used her as part of Adam Rose's entourage on the one tape, but she got a tryout on the next day. Only thing happened with Terry Taylor and William Regal, neither one were there to watch the tryout. So, things
Yeah.
happen. But I mean, she's definitely that's what you got to think about in this business too. Things don't always go your way, and you got to, even when you get set back, you got to be willing to get back up and keep moving forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where are you located right now? Are you still in North Carolina?
Yeah, I'm about 30 minutes outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, maybe 20. In Monroe, North Carolina, a little town down Highway 74. We got so a little bitty place out here, about 50 acres. It's awesome. We're in the bunkhouse now. Um, but yeah, and really, Hannibal, I got to tell you, I have never been happier in my life. Got a lot of things going on for me. I've overcome one heck of a battle over the last year, and I wanted to talk to folks about it because it's really opened my eyes. Um,
Yeah, the was it throat cancer that you had?
Lung cancer, lung
The
cancer.
lung cancer. Okay, could you tell us about?
Yeah, last year, April 22nd, I went in for a CT scan and stuff, and they found something. And I've been smoking cigarettes since I was 14 years old. I'm 61 now. And when they found something, we had our suspicions, but there was still a chance of, oh, it might not be. So on May the 10th last year, I had a biopsy done, and they went in the upper right lobe and did a biopsy on a tumor. And when they did it, came back, and it was cancerous. It was lung cancer. It was stage one. We caught it early and everything, and right away, I knew I wanted to have the surgery and have it removed, get that bad part out. And Bart, of course, he was going through chemotherapy and stuff. Oh gosh, the decisions were hard, because my friend's hurt, and so but I've got this battle too. So Charlie, my tag team partner Charlie Norris, had passed away, and we went and buried him up in Red Lake, and I became friends with the medicine man that performed the burial ceremony. He's my brother now. But anyway, I wanted to have before the surgery. I was adopted into the tribe 30 years ago, but I had never gotten my spiritual name, and that's one of the things I wanted to have before the surgery. So my wife was behind me 100%. I called up Jason, the medicine man, Jason Hart, up in Minnesota, and there's a tobacco journey where I carry tobacco with me, and I make the journey to go and ask him, and then I offer him the tobacco to give me my Indian name. Well, he met me in Madison, Wisconsin. I gave him the tobacco, and we visited, and then he gave us some teachings and everything on the Anishinaabe and Ojibwe ways. And we were talking about different things. Well, he took my tobacco. I don't believe I told him about my cancer this time. Took my tobacco, and then in July, for the July 4th, we went back up, but this time we went all the way to Red Lake, Minnesota, Charlie's reservation, the reservation he's from. And we went through ceremony. I received my Indian name. And Ojibwe is Memush Kaligabo, which means still standing strong. Jason told me throughout the ceremony, he was telling me during the ceremony, he says, Sam, he says, usually people get their Indian name at the beginning of your life. You're getting yours close to the end. And he told me what I had gone through. And my daughter was there, my wife was there, and a lot of Charlie's family was there. And the words that they spoke to me and the prayers that they gave for me, uh, it filled me. I feel I kind of feel like a different person on the inside. But anyway, so he gave me my name. We stayed for the powwow. I visited and with Charlie some at the cemetery there, And then we came back 2 days after we got back. They went in and they removed the upper right lobe. Upper lobe of the right lung. Um, so after they did the surgery, I knew I needed to, get on my feet and heal myself. So that first night, I got up and I walked 300 yards up and down the hallway at the hospital. And then the next day, I walked 600 yards before lunchtime. So I felt I was getting stronger. Well, get out of the hospital. The next day, we come home. I had a little bit of a scare here one day. I started leaking fluid out of one of the incisions. Coming to find out, it was nothing. It was going to be okay. Then a few days later, they called me up and we go into the office and they said, "Sir, we are so sorry to inform you that your stage 1 lung cancer is now stage 3." He said, "During the biopsy, they figured some of the drippings came out of that tumor, and it was around a valve in my heart and around my esophagus." Um, you know, things got serious. And Hannibal, my faith. I have a strong faith in everything else, and I pray a lot, and I'm close. I'm close with the Creator. Well, I came back home, and that's a heck of a thing to look. And the doctors say, "Well, we're going to do this. We're going to recommend 6 weeks of pinpoint radiation. Then we're going to do chemotherapy, and then we're going to be able to put you, because you'll be eligible to get on this pill, this $17,000 prescription that you take. 17,000 over 17,000 a month. It's called Tagrisso, and you'll be on that 2 to 3 years." And when I was, oh gosh, and I was talking to Mark quite a few times, a week or 2 weeks, and he was telling me what it was doing to him, and I'm sitting here faced with this decision. Well, I never once was going to give up, and I was always going to fight my way through it.
Because he said he didn't want to take chemo anymore, right? He kind of chose to give up.
Well, he quit he stopped with the chemo, and 3 days later he passed. You know, the chemo was keeping him alive, I guess. But the way it feels, because I know how the intense radiation feels on me now, and I haven't. I completed that in October. I mean, my side here feels like a cooked roast. The meat. And it hurts when you move and all kinds of stuff. But it's something you got to make a trade in life. You don't get anything easy, but you have to give something up or sacrifice to receive. And I talked to Jason again, and I let him know what was going on. And he told me, he said, "Sam, we have a healing ceremony that we can come down and perform that we'd like to do for you." And Kim and I talked about it. My wife Kim and I talked about it, and you know, it's all about faith. So Jason and Aaron, his helper Aaron, came down, and we took them to our cabin up in Boone, North Carolina, the week before Hurricane Helene hit. So that was a blessing there. But we were able to go up there. So the first day we were sitting there on the porch. Kim and Aaron had gone to the grocery store, and we were sitting out on the front porch, saw a white muskrat run by, or a white weasel run by. He said that was a good sign, and I was like, cool, because we're here. I'm here for a healing. And then the next day we did the getting ready to do the ceremony, and it's a water drum ceremony, a healing ceremony, and we have to tie the drum up while he tells the story. So we're tying the drum up, and he's telling the story, and we get everything done. And then he starts laying his things out on his blanket for our ceremony. And the one pelt that he brought for his spirit animal was a white weasel. I was like, wow, that blew me away right there. We burned the sage.
Bobby Heenan reincarnated.
Huh?
Bobby Heenan reincarnated with the white
Yeah,
hair.
but yeah, that's it. But we did the ceremony. We did the tobacco offering, the songs. And then after we started the ceremony, we went up and did the doctoring, and he used eagle bones and an eagle feather and water to pull the poison from my body, and then he regurgitated into a Ziploc bag, and then my chore was to go bury it so it could hurt no other creatures. So I buried it, and we were good. So the next morning, I get up and I go when I'm up in Boone. We have a staircase that goes all the way down to the creek. Oh, that was my cowbell. But I went down to the creek, and I always would go down there, and you're by yourself. You can talk, and I talk to Charlie, and I put tobacco out, or sometimes I'll light him a cigarette, and I'll sit there and we'll talk back and forth. Just he was my brother, he's my best friend. So I went down there and I was like, man, my side's burning. He said, wash it off. And I reached down in the creek and I washed myself off a couple of times. And before I made it back to the bottom level of the cabin where Kim was sleeping, the burning had stopped. And I walked inside and I woke her up and I said, baby, I said, I was coming up the stairs. I told her what I'd done and, uh, and, uh, and how I felt. Well, she started seeing me pepper up a little bit, and start because that radiation. I mean, that had me dragging. I mean, I was dragging bad, but I started pepping up some, and maybe it was because I was off of radiation for 2 days or whatever. But anyway, we make it back home, and I'm saying, excuse me, we make it back home and I'm taking Jason to the airport, and he told me the night before, he said, when he goes this week, he said, what you need to do is find a place where a skunk has been run over or killed. He said, you really need to smell that skunk funk. Breathe that in for about 10 or 15 minutes. It's strong medicine. I was like, okay. And I was kind of snickering it off, but I'm going to tell you, divine providence is one thing. I dropped them off at the airport, Jason and Aaron, and my mother-in-law called me, and she said, you need to get home. She said, your father-in-law has got a skunk in the barn and needs help. So there was a skunk funk I got to for about 15 or 20 minutes. Well, I decided to continue even after the doctoring because I didn't have a confirmation or anything. I decided to continue on with the radiation, and I had 3 more weeks to go. So I go back to the radiation, and the first day or two, I noticed they were looking at me a little odd. Well, they're doing imaging every day, but only the doctor can come up and talk to you about it. And he's only there 1 day a week. So I go through do that whole week, and then he comes in and he sits down and he says, sir, he says, you're a miracle. He said, you had stage 3 cancer last week. He goes, we can't find any cancer in your body. And right away I knew, and it was my faith. It was my faith in the Creator, knowing that He can do all. And it's really opened my path to a different maybe a different path to walk. Jason has agreed to help me and teach me. He's told me this last week, and he goes, I can walk where he walks now. So I look forward to any time and every time that we can get together because I know I'll learn good ways. He's also, big into the alcohol AA and programs and things like that. And he's doing a lot of wonderful help on the Red Lake Nation reservation with the youth, well, with everybody there. And he's been a godsend to me.
How did you take Black Bart's death when you're going through all this yourself, and then you see that God decided to take him? And I guess, as you said, he maybe could have held on longer. He maybe could have fought through it, but for whatever reason, I guess he just wanted to go.
Yeah. Well, he had been praying. He told me, he said he had been praying to die. I hate to say it like this, but his prayers were answered. Now, I don't know if you remember, but when I was 17, I had my tonsils taken out, and the doctor messed up, and that's why I got scars here and here. And I was dead on the table for 2 minutes, and I had a tunnel experience, and I came into a light, and oh gosh, when you get there, and this is for everybody, when you get there, you're gonna wish you'd done all you could have here. It's just we're not deserving of what's coming for us. We are not, and it is. If I had to describe it, it's just yellow comfort, total warmth. Just everything. You're fulfilled. You know. So I know what's coming. And you got to think when you do get to that other side, all that pain that you had here is gone. Now I remember how much it hurt me to be sent back out of that light and to come back because it wasn't my time. I heard a voice say, "It's not his time," and so I had to come back. I stayed in a coma for 2 weeks, having out of body experiences and all kind of wild things where my spirit was above my body. I was looking down on it on the bed. I could see and hear everything going on around me, but I couldn't communicate with anybody. It was wild. I've seen a lot in this lifetime.
Someone's asking whose death hit you the hardest. Speaking, I mean, you've had quite a few miracles to save you over the years, some of which we've
Yes.
already talked about. But I will agree that God looks after some of us. He's definitely looked after me on more than one occasion, and that's why I am a believer now. And you're one of the blessed as well.
Yeah. I guess the death that bothered me the most, um, I don't know. I had such relationships with like Eddie Gilbert and Kurt Hennig, but Charlie Norris. I mean that death hurt me the most because he was my brother. He was my tag team partner. We traveled the world together. Gosh, we were in Japan 5 times together. Just, I mean, having a blast. We were almost eaten by cannibals together in New Guinea. So, but yeah, that death hurt me the most. But the one thing that we're going to be able to do this year on July the 19th in Three Thief River Falls, Minnesota, the casino, we're doing a memorial event for Charlie Norris. Now, a surprise, surprise, surprise. I had part of a lung removed last year. It'll be a year and 5 days for the night of the event. My goal, and I'm training now. I'm working out now. I'm getting my wind up. I'm walking. I'm doing weight work, working out with weights. I'm doing DDP yoga. I'm doing all the good things to get me limber and to get me ready. I would like to perform on my partners, on my brother's memorial event. Um, we want to do something special. So, and depending on how that match goes, that will depend if that was my last match or not. But at least I'll have some sort of send off.
For Kurt Hennig, a bunch of people said he was known for his rainbow stew of pills, like a handful of different pills that he would call rainbow stew.
Oh
Did you
yeah,
ever, was it always the same thing, the ingredients of this rainbow stew, or would it vary from town to town?
I guess it would vary as to what you had in your pocket, at the time. Uh, I don't, I was the guy after I got hit the first time by Jake. I was the guy that had my hand on my beer bottle, and I wouldn't sit my drink down and come back to it and let somebody drop something in there. But that does
What
happen.
did
I mean,
Jake do to you?
oh, in
Bitch
Boston
mom?
Gardens, I'd come up to start with the WWF. Duggan was up there at the time. So that Hilton Hotel in at the Boston airport is where we used to stay. So we get off the plane, we go over the airport, and we're on the earliest flights out because that's Vince will get us on the first flight out. So Jake looks at me. We're checking in. Jake goes, "Hey, bro, man." He goes, we're only going to be here for a few hours. He goes, let's split a room. It's $160. We'll split a room, $80 a piece. Boom, 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 boom. He said, tomorrow morning you'll go on your way. I'll go on mine. That's cool. And so we split the room. Well, after the show that night, me, Jake, and Duggan were in the bar, and we're drinking beer. And all of a sudden, I feel myself in that cave going out. And I was like, oh, you sons of bitches. I said, if I wake up with no eyebrow, I'm killing you both. And they were like, no, no, no. So I make it up to the room. I mean, I don't know how I got there, but I got there. I got in the room. When you wake up on a halcyon, a 10 milligram halcyon, it's all like you've already had a cup of coffee. You wake up, boom. And anyway, when I woke up the next morning, Damien's head was laying right here on my shoulder. And Damien wasn't a small snake. Damien was a big ass Conan the Barbarian snake. Damien's head was right there on my shoulder. And I bolt up and I take off running down the hall. I'm butt naked, completely naked. So I go back and I'm banging on the door, and Jake won't let me in. So Duggan finally came across and threw his bedspread on me, told me to sit down, that Jake wasn't going to, I wasn't getting in that room till he was going to the airport. So it took like 6 weeks, but I got even with him.
Did you halcyon him back, or what did you do?
Oh, well, yeah. Okay. Well, we were in Wisconsin. So he had just been on the cover of Ellery Queen magazine. And he was wearing his Don Johnson Miami Vice suits and the whole 9 yards. So I hit him. It was a TV tape, and I hit him with two 10 milligram halcyons in his beer. And he's sitting there. Well, we're in the bar, and he starts that lean, and the drool starts. So okay, it's time. I was like, Jake, come on, man. We got to get you up. We got to get you out of here. You've been H-bombed, dude. Come on. And I get him up, and I take him to the front desk, and I say, ma'am, this is my brother. Could I get the key to his room? And she was like, no, sir. You're checked in under Houston, and he's checked in under Roberts. And I was like, oh. Our real last name is Smith. And she's like, no, sir. I said, okay, he's 6'7", and he weighs 270 pounds. There it was, yeah. I said, I'll leave him here with you. And she said, sir, here's his key. So I took him to his room. I opened his room up, put him on his bed. Okay, so now I call up on the phone. Get me a case of beer delivered to his room, a bottle of Crown Royal, a 2-liter Coke. Then I call up and order me a steak dinner from the restaurant, make a bunch of long-distance phone calls, go over to the Spectravision thing because it was the $9 movies and you watch 10 minutes of one, and then you watch 10 minutes of the other one, and then, you go like that. So I did all that. But that just wasn't good enough. We wore the fanny packs back then. And that's like looking at him and that alarm clock right next to him. Looking at him and that alarm clock right next to him. And then it hit me. Oh, I found his pot too, and I smoked his pot. Then it hit me that I could change the time on the clock, move it up 2 hours, and play a heck of a rip. So I moved the time up 2 hours, pulled a Sharpie marker out of my bag, out of my fanny pack, and I wrote stupid across his forehead. So at 4 o'clock, I go back to my room, and I'm hanging out until 4 o'clock in the morning. Jake's flight was at 6:30 the next morning. So I go hang out 4 o'clock in the morning. I take the rent-a-car to the front desk. I go to his door. I'm like banging on it. Jake, come on. We got to look what time, and I'll use the key and I open the door. I shake him awake and I show him what time it is. And he's like, ah. So I'm helping him gather his things and get out of there. And I grab the snake bag, the whole 9 yards. And I'm telling him I'm running my mouth a mile a minute, so he doesn't have time to stop and think or anything like that. And we go by the front desk. He tosses the lady her key. She looks at him and goes like that because he got stupid on his head. And he goes, yeah, baby, it's me, the snake. So, I'm sorry. So I drive him to the airport. It's not very far. The airport, boom, and I drop him off the front. And I'm talking, helping him with his bags. He's looking around because it's still dark outside. He gets the trunk out, everything. So I pull off in the rental car and I go turn it in and I go back into the airport. He's standing up next to this the lady ticket agent, and it was U.S. Air, and she had the biggest smile on her face, and her eyes were welled up with water, her tears. And I walk up and I'm standing next to Jake, and he looks at me, goes, "Dude, it's only 4:20 in the morning." I was like, those damn British bulldogs, Jake. I don't know how they do this stuff, but they must have got us. Yeah. Well, I guess you turned the car, and I said, yeah. He says, well, let's go eat. We get to the restaurant. The lady laughs. She sees but he still doesn't know. He signs an autograph and hands it to her. She didn't want it. So he goes, man, I haven't had time to go to the bathroom this morning. He's like, I'll be right back. Man, as soon as he walked in that bathroom door, I hit the front door of that airport and I was gone. I didn't come back. I didn't see him for about 2 months. We were on the road in different tours, and then I saw him in Toronto, and he said, "Are we cool?" I was like, "It depends on you, you know." And but yeah, we played a little bit of ribs back and forth a little bit, but that was a good one for me. But he had one because I had gotten on the parable and I was trying to bulk up and was taking parable and my strength just went out of the roof. And we were on a a 1 lane road, and we were teetering like this. And he talked me into getting in the ditch and picking the car up like that, so the back wheels had touched the ground, and then I just got covered in mud. So the brotherly love.
You mentioned the Bulldogs. Did you either see anything with the Bulldogs and Outback Jack or the Bulldogs and the Rougeos when you were in
Oh
WWE?
yeah. I kind of did. I was there during that time. Outback Jack. That was brutal. That was, and there was a lot of people I believe that were involved in that. I'm not going to go out on a limb
He
or
rubbed
anything.
people the wrong way, right? Because he
Yeah,
was
he would borrow money. He would borrow money from you and then never pay it back to you. And then he'd tell you, his checks were all direct deposit, and so you we were allowed to get a draw every night to take care of our on the road expenses, but he wasn't good at paying it back. And then he had another problem. I think he was going around and hitting on other guys as girlfriends or wives or something.
yeah. I don't know. I wasn't there, so but
Yeah.
yeah. What happened with the Bulldogs and them? Because I've heard there was I heard one where they rolled them up in a carpet and it was the winter and they
Oh,
were
I don't
doing
know
like
that one,
Rona.
but I know one night in Wisconsin, he had a 10 milligram house. It's a wonder that man didn't die that night. He had a 10 milligram halcyon in every beer he drank, and he drank 17 beers. You
Wow,
know,
you guys were crazy back then.
yeah, we did. Well, we didn't have any
Was it the
rules.
road that drove you guys nuts, or what was it that drove all you guys psycho back then?
I think it was being around each other, because you're all trying to be superhuman and you're all trying to be Superman or whatever because that's how you feel when you're on the road. And you got 30,000 people screaming your name every night, and this that, and the other. So you feel you don't have any limits. And so you push everything. People never get their envelope, and no, they always push it to see how much more they can go. And that's what the guys were doing. That's like how okay, this guy did this. Well, let's see how crazy I can be. I mean, I saw Rip Rogers at center stage come out with feces in his hand, saying, "Have you ever seen a more perfect turd?"
That's
You
just
know,
disgusting.
it is. I don't want to be around that. It's like, damn, that's just
I'd
nasty.
honestly just knock somebody out if they did that because I
Yeah,
would just
but
be like, "What the
you
fuck,
have to.
man?"
Well, if you do that, then you're putting it over. Then you're going, oh, he got to him.
Yeah,
And he's going to go that way. That's why if somebody pulls a rib on you or something, don't put it over. Just keep going around normal. You're doing your normal thing. Don't put it over. It's when you put it over that's when the oh gosh the appreciation comes out. I took Hannibal. I took the best ass whipping from Wahoo McDaniels on the rib. Oh, it was every time that man hit me and I hit the ground and popped back up, I was laughing. Oh, it was killing me. It was killing me. Before we got in the ring, I said because I'd ridden with Brian Adidas, and Wahoo's golf clubs were in Brian's trunk, and we got the TV tape, and me and Brian had to work against Wahoo and Tully. And right, we had to go out. We had two different dressing rooms, but it was the same hall. I was walking to the ring, and I've known Wahoo for forever, since I was a 5-year-old kid. I said, "Sorry about that 9-iron. I'm gonna have that fixed for you." And, and then I get in the ring first, and he's like, "My 9-iron." oh, Oh, he chopped me. But I look back on it. It hurt back then. It's funny now though.
I heard he didn't have a lot of precision with his chops, and sometimes he would chop people like in the nose or the teeth.
He
Sometimes
could get you. Yeah, he'd get you. Well, it depends on how he was moving and if he was doing his dance at the time. But he was great. I loved Wahoo to death.
So what happened after Outback Jack drank these 10 beers laced with halcyon, or
Like
17
17
beers?
beers. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Then they walked him up. I guess he went to his room and they put him on the phone with Stu Hart, telling him that was phone sex. So Outback's on calling long distance straight from the States to Canada, for hotel rates. And Stu answers the phone, and Outback's like, "Oh, tell me, baby," talk dirty to me.
Oh,
Stu's like,
you got a great impression. You got a great impression. What would Stu Hart have said about Outback Jack?
Huh?
Let's hear an impression of what Stu Hart would have said about Outback Jack.
Oh, he's good. The stupid ass is a fucking silly about this. It's about all you're gonna get was Stu. Oh, I knew not to let him get his hands on me though. So, but yeah.
So were you there?
So anyway, from what I heard, while the phone sex was going on, that's when the head got shaved from the part all the way over, got shaved off, and that part stayed. And that was, I guess, to help the super glue adhere to the hat to his head. All the clothes got put in a bag, in his Halliburton bag. The combination got changed. And he got sent down to the 24-hour restaurant butt naked twice to get apple pie. He took the newspaper down there with him and sat down at a table.
Yeah, he's so lucky there was no cell phones back then.
Oh yeah. Well, there was a lot of stuff, Like I said, the boys were wild. We were the boys, and we set the mark. I mean, talking about Kurt Hennig, I'm not sure if it was Kurt, but we all kind of had our suspicions. We go to a Johnny Lee concert in Minneapolis, and somebody said something about out drinking the boys or out doing the boys, and Johnny Lee fell asleep during the second song at the concert. His own concert, from what I understood.
Oh, that's funny.
What do you do?
You had a lot of Kurt Hennig's first matches in WWE, didn't you?
Yeah.
Over?
Oh, and I got to tell you, the very first time, I think it was Madison Square Garden. As soon as I got there, I looked on the roster and saw I was working with Kurt, and he'd come in. I was like, "Oh man, I was so excited," because when you're when you're a worker and stuff like that, the regular people probably won't know, but when you're a worker and you get to work with somebody of that caliber, it brings out the best of you. So when two good workers get in the ring, and they each put forth to get the match over, then everything gets over. And it's such fun. I mean, it's awesome. Other feeling in the world like it. And me and we had fun. but we had great matches, and we got out there and got the job done. So, that was cool. One night coming back from the matches, it was Pittsburgh, I think, and we were both staying at the Red Roof Inn, and we'd both rented T-Birds. They were two different cars. Well, anyway, I pulled into the hotel, and then not 20 seconds later, he pulls in. And he pops out of his car, and I'm getting out of mine, and he goes, "Hey," "I got some cheap." I said, "Well, I got a case of beer." He goes, "Well, come on down." So I go throw my bag in the room, and I carry the beer down to his room, and we're sitting there, and we decided we're smoking and drinking and talking about the show that night and all the BS bullshit that happens, and all the little drama and the dressing room queens, just everything, and laughing about everything because we were both second generation, so we see through a lot of this pettiness with guys. And we both dealt with jealousy and everything else. Guys jealous of where we were, but because they thought they could be there. Well, they couldn't. If they're not there, they couldn't handle the job. And so anyway, we're in there partying. He goes, "Hey man," he goes, "I'm kind of hungry." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why don't you call Domino's and order some pizza while I wash my gear out, so I can get on the phone in his room." Domino's Pizza. I said, "Yes." I said, "My name is Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig. Do you know who I am?" "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." And I proceeded to belittle these people. I ordered two pizzas, but I would just, you call them pencil neck geek and all kinds of stuff. And then finally at the end, I said, "How does it feel knowing late at night when you go to sleep that your woman's over there dreaming about me?" And then I told him I wanted the pizza there in like 20 minutes. Well, Kurt comes back from washing his stuff off. We sit down, we're smoking another one. Oh, it hadn't been maybe 15, 18 minutes. There's a knock on the door. Here's the guy shoving two pizzas in. Kurt goes to pay him. The guy says, "No, no charge." So Kurt takes a 50 and puts it in his pocket. He said, "No, this is for you." The guy freaked out because it really was Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. So anyway, we're sitting there and we're getting ready to eat that pizza. He just tears into his, and I got mine to about right here and realized, man, if somebody talked to me the way I did on the phone, there's spit on this pizza. So I put it back down, closed it up. He said, "What's wrong, Sam? You're not hungry?" I said, "No, I'm just going to ride this out." I said, "You can have it if you want to." I told him what I did the next day, so he had to go throw up.
Yeah, there was probably something in there for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, definitely. But
Someone.
huh? Go ahead.
Oh no, continue what you were saying about Kurt.
Oh no, Kurt was just a great guy. He was a lot of fun to be around on the road, and he was like, well, I guess Heenan come out of that area too. I mean, they both kept everything. They kept the road fun, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You never knew what to expect. I mean, I remember Steve Lombardi had said one time that he was walked into like a truck stop and went to pull out his wallet, and there was a dead rat in there. I don't know. So Kurt was good, dude. He was pretty good with sleight of hand.
Speaking of Steve Lombardi, someone's asking how Pat Patterson was towards you because you were a good-looking young man, but you were also well connected. Did he ever make any passes on you? And this person
No, he
also says,
never made any
no.
passes. He made a comment one time. Um, Now I had known Pat. Oh gosh, when I was like 11 years old down in Florida, when my dad and I went down to our dad. After my mom and dad split up, my dad went to work for Eddie Graham for 3 or 4 months, and I was down there with him, and Pat was there at that time. And Pat didn't mess with me then. And then when I broke in the business and everything, he never messed with me in that way after I broke into business. But he did say on an airplane one night, he said that we were going to Montreal. He said, "I love it when I go up here. I get to go to the strip bars with my sister." And I was like, "What? Okay." And I'm thinking, you're thinking the strip bar with your sister. I'm thinking, I don't know, understand what's going on. And he says, "Yeah, the guys dance right up in your face." Well, I guess they had male strip bars for the women up in Montreal. I wasn't for sure. I figured it was something like New Orleans.
That's where he met Sylvain Grenier. He was a stripper, and he ended up getting that guy hired in WWE. He liked him so much.
Oh
I don't know
wow,
if
I
you ever
never knew
saw
that.
him. Yeah.
I never knew that. Wow. Well,
So
things
did
you
you
find
go?
out.
Did you
Huh?
go to the? Did you go to the strip club with him then?
Oh
With
no, 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 shit, no, no. I was like, get out of here. When he said that, I was like, okay, I'm out of here. But I never had any issues with him.
Do you believe all that stuff with him and Brawler that people said they had some sort of relationship, and that's why Brawler had a job for 30 years?
I'll just say, look, uh, you know, wow. Maybe he was a good worker he did everything that was asked of him. So, I
There was
won't
the
read.
Jim Powers story too.
Yeah, I was there when that happened, and I heard everybody heard about that one. Everybody, and it was like, whoa, you know. Um, and then I heard some stuff about Tom McGee, and there was a couple of little different scandals that happened while I was up there.
Tom
But I was
Tom McGee was a good looking guy at that point, wasn't he?
who Tom?
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, the big guy. He
Yeah.
said one night he wanted to change his name and be Bolt Upright. Like, okay, that's whatever, you know.
What was that with McGee? What was the rumor there? Because I haven't heard that one.
The rumor on that one was that he was caught French kissing another guy. I can't remember the other guy. It might have been, I think, Frenchie Martin and him. Because like the Bulldogs used to sing French kissing in Montreal, so it was Montreal in the dressing room.
Wow. There was a lot of weird stuff in the dressing room, like Lanny doing his gimmick of the. Did you ever see that in the dressing room?
Yeah,
In the
yeah,
old days, you walk into a dressing room and there's Lanny in the corner.
yeah. You're just there's a lot. This business is you just can't put it over. You just got to take everything like it's a rib, and walk down the hall with just shaking your head and laughing. You know, you wouldn't believe it doesn't take people long from if you keep food away from them. It doesn't take people long to start throwing feces at you. You know,
Yeah.
so I mean, but there's always gonna be that next daredevil. That goes a little bit further.
Here's a good question from one of our members here, Mort Goldberg Talent. Did you ever do your ring entrance dance on the dance floor at the clubs? And did that help you with
All
the
the
ladies?
time, all the time. Shoot, I danced with Trisha Yearwood and one night. Me and Ron Simmons have been on the road together on this one tour, and it was a Red Stallion bar. The only place you could get beer you had to go after hours was you had to go to a bar or something because all the state liquor stores had closed, and we weren't for sure. So we were looking for a bar on anywhere, and we're out in the middle of nowhere, and up ahead I see neon red horse. And right away, I know that's a Red Stallion bar. So we pull in there, and there was a couple of tour buses there. And we go inside, and I had been the Central States champion not too much, a little earlier and stuff in that area. And I guess I had a pretty good following and stuff. People know. Anyway, we were up at the bar ordering a case of beer, but we were going to have one there to go. So I'm drinking the beer, and this lady comes up and says, "Are you Sam Houston?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "My boss would like to meet you." And I said, "Well, who's your boss?" And she said, "Trisha Yearwood." And I went, "What?" Okay, so I went over and shook hands and sat and talked with Trisha Yearwood for a minute while we are having our beer. And finally, I said, "Would you like to dance?" And I got to two step with Trisha Yearwood there. Ron was there, Then we got out of there, hit the road, and back on the road again, you know. And then that trip, he also, uh, we met Claude Akins, the guy that used to be Sheriff Lobo, and on the BJ and the Bear show. We met him. He was doing a golf thing for Texaco. We met him in Charleston, I believe, and I guess the name Claude Akins escaped him, but the initials CA, he caught on that. And we're having our beers and everything. Claude Akins gets ready to go to the restroom, and Ron Simmons is huge, y'all. Ron jumps in his face. He says, "You know who you are. You know who you are." And he's got that deep voice. And Claude Akins is just looking at him, and he goes, "You Chet Atkins." He goes, "I'm anybody you want me to be." And he came back later and he asked us if we wanted jobs as his bodyguards. We turned him down. But yeah, you have a lot of fun. I met Leslie Nielsen one night partying in Charleston, West Virginia too. So he fell off the edge of the pier on me, and it was he was looking for women.
Someone wants to know what's the difference between back in the day. I know you were in the first Survivor Series, you were in the first Royal Rumble, even though that wasn't a pay per view. But back in the day, what was the difference between like a regular match and a pay per view payoff? Was it a significant pay bump?
Yeah, regular match, you just got paid for the house. The pay per view thing, you're supposed to be getting extra. And like whenever I did the Great American Bash, well, the Great American Bash that wasn't a pay per view, the first one. But when the first one, I mean, I got a hell of a payoff on that. That was my biggest payoff ever. Um, but for WrestleMania, all those, it wasn't all that much. It wasn't that great. I mean, you might have got like 5 or 8 grand or something. But you got to look at how long you're in there and what you're doing. You know, but still don't think we were being paid to the value that we needed to be, where we should have been.
Any memories of working with the Ultimate Warrior as part of the Warrior team in the very first Survivor Series?
Well, when Jim first got there, okay, they took him off of TV, or they would have him go to TV and they would watch his matches to check out his progress. But they weren't putting him in all the big towns or anything like that. He was on the road. We were on the road together. Well, I guess for about a year and a half or so. Took him to my bootmaker, the whole 9 yards. We traveled together, and I would kind of help him out with stuff, and then he was trying to help me in the gym some because I wasn't a great big guy, but I had a lot of heart, but I could work too. But so we traveled together quite a bit, and then after I remember when the decision came down, he got the nod for the big push. He just forgot everybody.
That's too bad. What was he like before? Like there was the ego change when he got the big push. Would he talk normal? Would he
Oh,
hang out with you at all?
he was always 90 to nothing. He was but I guess that's all the sauce and stuff like that. But he was always very aggressive. I got him to start. I told him we had an incident in El Paso. He didn't like pictures taken or anything like if he didn't have his makeup on. And we were in baggage claim, and this guy was filming him, and he asked the guy to stop, and the guy, I guess, went back to filming him. I went and got the rent-a-car. When I pulled the rent-a-car up, here comes Jim out of the airport, and two little cops, two Mexican cops. And they're watching the door, and Jim goes and he throws the first bag in the trunk. He went to throw the second bag in the trunk and caught on the lip and went down on the ground. Well, he grabs the bag up and slams it in the trunk. He starts yelling the F word real loud, and he started he was grabbing the back of the car and bouncing on it, and he was like bouncing the tires off the ground a little bit. And those two cops looked at me and they said, "Well, you got this." And I looked at them. They walked back inside. I got Jim in the car, and I said, "Okay, I'm not taking you to my bootmaker until you smoke this." So I made him smoke a joint with me, and that seemed to calm him down. After that, he smoked a little bit.
I heard Kevin Nash actually say he smoked a little bit too.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to take him to my bootmaker and be all fussy and stuff like that with attitude like that. You know.
Yeah.
So
Do you, do you have any stories on Hulk Hogan?
like I hear all the news, this, that, and the other. I gotta say this, man. I mean, I wasn't real tight with Hogan or real close or anything like that, but I have to say this, and all the times that I viewed him, was around him, I never really saw him disrespect anybody or anything like that. He always treated people kind, and he was always cool. We smoked together a couple of times and stuff, but that's about it. But anytime, I never saw him being out of the way or just a arrogant asshole. I never saw that out of him. I always thought that Hogan, for that time and the place that he was in, he did a good job.
So overall, like he'd shake your hand and stuff. Would you
Yeah.
actually see him every night on those cards?
Oh yeah, I'd see him and we'd talk. We'd visit and stuff like that. But Hogan wasn't my. I had my own stuff going on. I was always with this one or that one or the other. You got to figure everybody's running in their cliques. When it's already all figured out. Hogan and Beefer and this one and that one. They're all going together. And me and Duggan and Jake. We're all going together. And this one. Just different stuff.
Now you've told us about the Andre the Giant story where he was pulled over by the cop, and you've told us the Battle Royal one where you and your brother tried to throw him out of the ring. I know you got more than two stories on Andre. Do you have anything else you could tell us?
Well, I gotta figure out a way that I can word one of them that, this would be the when I quit traveling with him. Uh, but oh gosh, it would have a slur in it that I wouldn't be comfortable saying. So I have to figure out a way to break that one in. But yeah, I will have one for you. But I'll tell you something else. He used to have a bumper sticker on it that he carried around on his wrestling bag, and he wouldn't let everybody see it. But if he wanted you to see it, spin that bag around and said, "Don't bother me, or I'll fart." I'm gonna tell you something. You don't want to be around for that. Yeah, it'll water you.
Yeah. Was that an actual bumper sticker?
Yeah, it was a bumper. He had a sticker on his. It was green with silver, like speckledy, like glitter letters on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard he would do that on trains and in elevators and
Oh,
stuff. Is this true that sometimes just he found this funny, and I in today's day of the internet this wouldn't get over, but he just put newspapers on a bed sometimes and leave a massive pile of crap
oh,
for
I didn't.
the
I
the
wouldn't know
mail.
about that, but
Okay.
but he would do when him and Arnold Skolin, they played cribbage together all the time. So Andre'd get to the arenas early or whatever. Or when he got to the arenas, he'd get in the dressing room. Well, if it was a big dressing room with all the boys, he'd sit close to the door. And then he'd take his clothes off and everything, and he'd sit down and he'd play cribbage naked. And then all the boys would be in the dressing room, and he'd let one of those go. And I'm going to tell you, the way it reverberated off a steel chair was not nice. And, and you'd see all the guys cringing and doubling over, and he'd have his bare foot right in front of the door. And you don't want to go and make the giant move his foot, It's, people be going back in the back, turning the showers on. Oh, it's horrible. Oh, it's
Were
horrible.
were you around for that Haku fight with Jesse Barr that happened around '88? I think.
I was there, but I was on a different. I started there in '87. I was on a different tour, but I'd heard that Jesse had gotten up on top of some woman's car that was going to give him a ride to a restaurant or something, and was dancing on her car, and then say, "Hey, brother, and then all of a sudden a kick come out of nowhere and took the guy's eye. But it didn't damage it for good.
Okay, because there's versions of the story that his eye came out, and then some people say he's not even alive anymore, but apparently he's alive. He's just kind
Oh
of
yeah, he's alive.
disappeared.
Yeah, his eye came out. I think it was hanging down by those threads or the ligaments or whatever, and they just had to put it in. I was there the night. Matter of fact, I was keeping time in Monroe, Louisiana. It was probably 14, 15, something like that. And Junkyard Dog and Mike George were working with Alpha and Sika. And Dog, well, let's see. Uh, Dog was doing something, making a comeback, and Sika went and spun him around as Dog was throwing the punch, and the punch hit Sika under the eye, and Sika has had the big eyes, and Sika's eye came out and was hanging down, and I watched Sika take his eye and put it back in his head, and then finish the match. As soon as I rang the bell for the match to be over, I hit the concession stand, grabbed a bucket of ice, and had it in the dressing room so I could get ice on it real quick. And then Doc Folds, who was the commissioner there in Monroe, took a look at him. But that man put his eyeball back in his head, then finished the match.
Wow.
That was a
Oh,
hot.
were you there for the Billy Jack Haynes versus Iron Mike Sharp fight?
I didn't see it. I don't know if I was. I mean, I was in the territory when that happened, but I heard it was just real quick. They had an altercation or a problem. They walked off to the back, or I guess it was in the dressing room. It's kind of like a 1-2 thing, and Mike Sharp was down on the ground, down and out. He got back up, shook hands, and that was it.
Quick fan question here from Doug. Do you remember the Metro Center in Rockford, Illinois?
Um, Not right offhand. I mean, why did something? Who did I work with
I
there?
guess no, he must be from there.
I mean,
Did you have any?
I've been everywhere. I mean, I used to. Gosh, I mean, back when I was with Vince and everything, we were working in probably 9 towns a week. So and they were big towns. So
And now there's not even house shows anymore, unless they're over in Europe. It's crazy how times have changed.
yeah, and people want that. People, you don't want to sit at home and watch TV all the time. You want events to go for. That's where the real feel comes from. You know, I think everybody's looking at their talent now as instead of viable workers and being able to go out there and make a living for themselves on the road. All you are is a TV character, and you're on TV, $64,000 per minute TV for 8 minutes. So you're worth this much money to us on TV, so we can't have you hurt yourself in something else like that. So we'll just have to pay you with a TV budget. Maybe.
For Dusty Rhodes, it's listed on the internet he was one of your mentors. Is that true? Because there's also stories that he didn't like you for some reason.
No. Dusty's
Related
the one that started me out. Dusty loved
Okay.
me. Yeah, it wasn't until Baby Doll and I got together to where I fell out of graces. But see, Dusty felt like he was returning a favor. My dad gave Dusty his big break in 1969. Dusty was quitting the business and going back to Austin to be a plumber with his dad. And on his way through, he was going to put my dad over at the Sportatorium in Dallas. And Dad felt him in the ring, and my dad changed the finish and everything. Come back and told Fritz, "You can make money with this kid," and that gave Dusty his big break. And so years later, Dusty, to return the favor, gave me my big break. Dad told me this business wasn't for me and then I couldn't do it. Well, I left home, and Dusty was the one that changed my name to Sam Houston and gave me my first dates. I didn't know until a couple years ago at the CACs that J.J. Dillon told me. He said, "Yeah, your dad had called my dad had called everywhere not to use me, and that JJ had gone up and said, 'Hey, the kid's here every night with his bag ready to go.' He said, 'Use him, use him, see what you can do.'" So that's what they did. So the first night I worked with Charlie Cook, I forgot every wrestling move I ever knew. But after about 9 minutes, 8.5 minutes, I mean, I was hooked. And then the next day, I asked Dusty what he wanted me to do. He said, "Go out there and arm drag Joe LeDuc on TV." So I went out there and arm dragged Joe LeDuc and got the snot beat out of me. But it was my break into the business. And I'd already been stretched. I'd already worked out with George Weingroff. Everybody knew I had wrestling skills, so that was pretty cool. I'd been wrestling since second grade in school. So
Wow.
yeah, it was
Now
kind of.
there's a lot of I'm saying there's a lot of fan questions today, so we're gonna have to have you back another time, and I'll take notes of these, but I'll throw one last one in here. Jeff is wondering what your current relationship is like with Jake Roberts, and someone else earlier was asking how are things with you and Robin.
I'm all good with everybody. I've made amends. A couple of years ago, when I was going through all my stuff with, just got flooded out and lost everything in the floods in 2016. I went up with Jake. I left the debt up there I didn't know I had. I took care of it. Me and Jake are cool. Me and Robin are cool now. We're talking. You just have to forgive and go on. And I don't hold any grudges towards anybody. I want everybody to do well, and I'm looking forward to a lot of great things. And I'd like to, if you don't mind, if you don't mind me throwing a pitch out there, Hannibal.
No, go right ahead.
Well, my friend Black Bart, you had talked about this earlier. My friend Black Bart, I want to help. He wanted to help with cancer research, and I know the family's going to need help too. My friend's gone. Well, WrestleMania a few years ago, I had an idea, and we did it. I had bought some bells, and I had Bart make the Texas Bull Rope bells. He signed on one side, and I've signed on the other. They'll come in a potato sack, tongue in cheek, potato sack with Black Bart on one side and myself on the other. And there'll be an autographed black and white 8x10. I've got, I think, 14 of these bells left. They're $1,000 a bell. If you are a collector or you would like something, I'll tell you now, we did 30 bells. One is mine. That'll never go anywhere. And one is Bart's, and his wife is keeping those. We're keeping the ones that he made for us. The 28 bells, a few have been given away as gifts and for people to make donations to Bart. So if you want to help us out with helping cancer patients and Linda out, I sure would appreciate it. Just reach out to me on Sam Houston on Facebook, or you can go to Michael Sam Houston on Facebook, or reach us at Sam Houston Fan Nation. I sure would like to do a lot. And the Red Bastille Texas Shootout is in 2 weeks in Texas. I'm planning on being there, and I'd like to make a sizable donation. So if the fans out there want to be a part of wrestling history and want a piece of memorabilia that you can have fun with, you could whop somebody in the head with these. Oh, split them wide open. But
I don't approve of that just for legal reasons.
Yeah, I got you. And then the other thing is July 19th may be my last event. It would mean a lot to me if I could get some folks out there and to have a good time. It's going to be at Thief River Falls at the casino, and that'll be July 19th. And it is for a great cause. It's to honor my brother and tag team partner, Charlie Thunderblood Norris. And it would mean so much to me. Let's try to set something up to where maybe we can set it up to where people everywhere can view it.
Yeah, that would be good. Where could they go to buy tickets for that? Any idea?
I had the flyer. I know that they're making the tickets this week right now. But I'll try to get some information. And I tell you what's a good day for you, Hannibal, to get on here again? You got a day this week?
I'm pretty open this coming week. If you have the if you want to come on.
What are you doing tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night I could do something. Yeah.
Okay, then I tell you what, we'll do the same thing again tomorrow, and NC, bro. Okay.
Sounds good. So I'll let you close this off, and we'll do it again tomorrow. So
All
say
right,
whatever
hey
you want to
folks,
say to the.
man. Yeah, you're watching the Hannibal Show. Only the best come out at night. Jack, y'all have a blessed night, blessed evening, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Everything I'm telling you is the